everybody, and welcome back to the Keep 7 Gaming YouTube channel. Old Hanky Poo. My name's Henry, so I call me, when I'm fucked up, I'm Hanky Poo. Oh man, this is off to a real bad start. I'm really fucked up, but I'm playing a 5-color Superfriends deck here today, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Originally, I was playing with Fires of Invention. But I feel like I already have played a couple decks that featured Fire of Invention, so I feel like, this isn't just a Fires of Invention magic channel. This is all different kinds of magic. So today we're doing 5-color Super Friends. Instead of Fires of Invention, we're playing Chromatic Lantern. This will just allow us to have all the lands that we control be a land of any color when we tap them. That's what Chromatic Lantern does, allowing us to play any of our Planeswalkers. The pluses and minuses of Fires of Invention versus Chromatic Lantern. Fires of Invention will allow you to play 2 spells on your turn, which I think is probably better. So the first thing I would do is, if you're making this deck and you want to make it quote unquote competitive, I mean, if you want to get more wins, play Fires of Invention. Fires of Invention is a completely broken card that will allow you to essentially, if you have 7 mana on the board, essentially you actually have 14 mana on the board. You can play 2 spells for 7 mana, or we'll say 6 mana for the sake of argument in this specific deck, because our highest spell mana cost is 6. So if you have 6 mana on the board, you essentially actually have 12 mana on the board, which is much more preferable than Chromatic Lantern, which if you have 6 mana on the board with Chromatic Lantern, you actually only have 7 mana on the board because it's on the board and you can tap it for a mana of any color. But it allows your lands to be tapped for a mana of any color, which will allow you to play any number of these Planeswalkers. So if this gets removed, if this gets removed, Chromatic Lantern, if this gets removed, you're pretty fucked. But on the same side of the coin, if you're playing Fires of Invention, if that gets removed, you're pretty fucked playing this deck anyway. So the upside is Fires of Invention gives you double the mana. So if you want this deck to perform better, and originally I had this with Fires of Invention, and I won a bunch of games. If you want this deck to be more competitive, or if you want to win more games with it, play that. But I've been playing it too much lately, and I wanted to play something else, so put in Chromatic Lantern. Anyway, so the only spells that we have that aren't Planeswalker spells, Chromatic Lantern, again, lets your lands be able to be tapped for a mana of any color, so essentially allowing you to play any number of these Planeswalkers without really having to worry about your mana base. And the other spell that we have in here is Shatter the Sky. It's just, all of you know what Shatter the Sky does. Clears the board for you. This hopefully will be able to help you stabilize so that you can get your Planeswalkers either protected, or you can start kind of using their mana, or not their mana abilities, but you can start using their loyalty abilities to, establish a board presence and start kind of getting your own game started and try to win the game. I would say that really what we're looking for in this deck, our main win con here, really, what I did when I was looking for Planeswalkers, I was looking for Planeswalkers that would protect themselves. And what I mean by that is Planeswalkers that created creatures. Most Planeswalkers that create creatures, they're pretty, low power and cost creatures, but, you got things like Nissa, who can get the 3/3 elementals, Vivian, who gets the 3/3, beast creatures that you can have vigilance, haste, reach, whatever. We have Ashiok, who creates the 2/3s that when they attack or block, they exile the top 2 cards. Basically, things that can establish a board presence, because probably by the time we've casted these Planeswalkers, our opponent has probably established a board presence. If we're unlucky enough that we don't have a Shatter the Sky, we want to establish a board presence. We want to protect the Planeswalkers that we've gotten out there. So, we're a lot of the deck, or a lot of the picks that I made for the Planeswalkers for this deck revolved around Planeswalkers that had a way to protect themselves, a way to establish a board presence, so that at the very least they could block an attack so that they wouldn't take damage, assuming that the opponent doesn't have trample or, creatures with flying or something. So I chose a lot of Planeswalkers here that created something, put something on the board. One win con would be you just have so many Planeswalkers out there eventually you're just creating a bunch of free creatures every turn that it just kind of overwhelms your opponent. You just kind of outvalue them with, you can just, for free, if you have an Ashiok, a Vivian, a Nissa, a Liliana, a Garruk, if you have all of them out there, you're just creating so many free creatures they can't keep up with it. So that's one potential win con. But really, what you're looking for, I think, just like my other Golgari Super Friends deck, you're really, I mean, I guess your real win con here, or the thing you probably are going to drive towards. The thing I've won the most with this deck is, or the win con that I've used the most to win with this deck, is you get Garruk out there, you create the 2/2 Wolf creature tokens, you use Liliana or you use Vraska or I'm sorry, not this Vraska. So you get Garruk out there, you use his 0 mana ability to create the 2/2 black and green wolf creature tokens that when they die, they put a loyalty counter on Garruk. You use a Liliana to either sacrifice both of them, or you use a Vraska, and over 2 turns you sacrifice one or the other, or you let one die or whatever. But more or less, you use Garruk's -6, his ultimate ability. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +3/+3, and have trample, and that's generally the win con that I've been using to win games. I mean, in most of the games that I've played, I've had Garruk. I've been lucky enough to have Garruk. In most of the other games that I've won, it's just you just throw out so many planeswalkers that your opponent just realizes that they're outvalued and they can't really play much against it, and they scoop. So that's our main win con is get free creatures out there, use Garruk if you can, and win that way. The way that we stabilize boards is with Shatter the Sky, and then we have a lot of abilities through these planeswalkers to get rid of threats. So with Vraska, we have a -3 of destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. With Garruk, we have his -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. With Liliana, each player sacrifices 2 creatures, and then whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. So we have some card draw here and stuff. With Sorin, if you get him down when you have your other guys down, all the creatures you have lifelink, so you can attack and get a bunch of life. You know, if you have a bunch of the free things down with the Wanderer, her -2 ability is exile target creature with power 4 or greater. So we have a lot of ways to remove things. Like we have a lot of targeted removal. Once we stabilize the board, hopefully with Shatter the Sky, we have a lot of targeted removal with some of these planeswalkers. And then we have two copies of Vraska Swarm's Eminence here. She's another way that we can stabilize the board. I think Death Touch is pretty powerful, obviously, just to kind of stabilize the board. If you're playing like a Life Gain of Johnny deck or something like that, just getting a 1/1 Black Assassin with Death Touch, you can stabilize the board with a 1/1. Assuming if they're playing like a Mutate deck or something like that, and you don't have a Shadow the Sky, a 1/1 with Death Touch, they won't attack you. If they're just playing a Mutate deck and they have a really powerful, 6/6, if they have an Aluna out there, or not an Aluna because it's flying, but if they have like a Cavern Whisperer, or what the other one, or the fucking Cavern Whisperer, or the other one, the Hemiphage, whatever the fuck they do, if they have that out there and they're trying to attack you, you just have a 1/1 out there with Death Touch, they're not going to attack. They'll keep mutating, but we have things out there that can remove their mutate creature and stuff like that. So we have a lot of answers, a lot of value here. One thing I actually was thinking about just adding. Whoops. Got to move that. Let's see here. Let's just take a look-see. Planeswalker. Where is she? Da, 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 da. Hey, Krieger. Yeah. What's up, buddy? So Narset would be a good addition. She's also decent targeted removal. She has some life gain. She has some ramp, and then her removal is kind of intertwined with her card draw. So her -2, you get to draw a card, and then you may discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, she deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost. So I did originally have 2 copies of her in there, but I feel like we have enough removal in here that's not really entirely necessary. Ugin the Ineffable is also another potential, planeswalker that you might want to include. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Probably not a huge deal. But he adds, exile top card of your library face down, look at it, create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token. When it leaves the battlefield, put the exiled card into your hand. So he has a way to protect himself, but I feel like you don't want to be putting planeswalkers face down on the board and then let a 2/2 die and then let it go to your hand. You're going to want planeswalkers to be in your hand so that you can cast them. and keep using their ability. So I feel like as great as he is, and he has that -3 destroy target permanent that's one or more colors. That's great. But I feel like the +1 just isn't good enough. I feel like our other planeswalkers that we have included here are better. The one planeswalker that I think should be included is probably this Kaya. I don't have any versions of her. I have 4 wild cards, or 4 mythics. Maybe I should pay one for her. But the reason I would include 2 of her, if I had them, and if I were you and you were playing this list, I would include her. Is exile her -1, exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. This will be really effective against any aggro decks. If you come up against mono red, she's going to be a great card to come up against that. I don't think I'm going to spend a mythic wild card on her right now, but if I keep playing this list and I really like it, then fuck it, why not? But I'd say if you're going to add anything to the deck, if you're going to add any planeswalker to the deck, it would be her to help kind of outvalue like your aggro decks, because if you're waiting, first of all, she's a 3 mana planeswalker, so that's really powerful. Second, your other planeswalkers are, that's a -1 to get rid of a 1 converted mana cost creature, so that's really good again against your 1 mana aggro decks. But if you're using Vraska to get rid of like a fervent champion, like the value there is, her -3 to get rid of a 1 mana creature doesn't really seem that worth it. If you're using Liliana to make them sacrifice 2 creatures and they're it's 2 1/1s, that's kind of not that good. But if you're using Liliana to sacrifice 2 creatures to kill 2 of your own wolves and kill 2 of theirs, I mean, you're getting some value there because you can ultimate with Garruk, assuming that you kind of get there if you're understanding, if you're following what I'm saying. Again, I'm very drunk. Not very. I'm fucked up. But yeah, I think I've rambled too long. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Let's just play the deck and have some fun, right? All right. So our next opponent for the day is Lolly777. Hello, Lolly. Loli. So like, we could have a Narset turn 3. And we have 4 mana, and we could cast a Vraska turn 4. And then if we draw into land, Vivian turn 5. I mean, we'll keep it, but it's not like perfect. So we've already played a couple of games, and the biggest thing is we're just being outvalued, and the Fires of Invention would make this deck just like over the top, way better. Again, I'm not playing it because I feel like I've played it too much. Okay, so maybe this is like mono black. Don't know. But if it is mono black and if it's aggro, we're probably getting run over. But hey, what are you going to do? I mean, that's Magic. Okay, so this is probably like the Ajani and Bloodthirsty Aerialist life gain deck. So we might actually, if we have 2 whites. 2 white mana. So if we play Sacred Foundry and then into Fabled Passage, we could have a way to clear the board, and then, like, I don't think, like, the Ajani life gain decks and the Bloodthirsty Area, yeah. So if we clear the board, his game plan's pretty much over. We'll have to take some hits, but at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. So he's gonna swing in for a lot of damage here, and that is 100% fine. We have the Fabled Passage. We'll cast that next turn. We have the 2 white, so it doesn't really matter what we draw here. I'm trying to think of like any specific representation that we need. We'll get the blue because we have the Ketria Triumph down, and we'll have a way to cast Narset next turn, and we'll just Shadow the Sky here. And hopefully that really puts a dig into his game plan. He's got 4 cards in hand, and it's really unfortunate that his Johnny got to 6. But it is what it is at the end of the day. So we'll cast Vraska. We'll get rid of the Healer's Hawk, because I feel like he's probably running out of gas. We'll cast the Overgrown Tomb. Whatever he casts, hopefully we'll have answers to. I don't like the Hawk because it gives him more life gain, but I feel like whatever he has in hand is not going to be good enough. Conclave Tribunal to get rid of my Vraska, that's fine. We have more important things to cast. we'll put down the Blood Crypt. We'll have it, or yeah, we'll put down the Blood Crypt. Let's get down Vivian. We'll create a 3/3 with Vigilance. Why not? And we'll see what he has in hand. Next, I think our play is Narset, and we'll see if we can dig up a good Planeswalker, because right now, what I want to see is more Planeswalkers that establish a board presence. We could also... The Tamiyo in hand is pretty good, because we can get the Shatter the Sky back if we need it. But I think still Narset is the way to go. I think now that we've cleared his board, he's just top decking, so we just got to outvalue him at this point. We just got to get more things on the board faster than he can. And I think Narset's going to be the way that we do that. So we'll take the Chromatic Lantern. This will allow us to continue playing our Planeswalkers. So I'm going to create another 3/3, and I'm going to give it Reach, because I'm afraid of if he plays a Bloodthirsty Aerialist. At least we'll have some blockers for that in case he casts it. But again, at this point, I think he's probably kind of running low on gas. It's going to be a slow burn for us, but what I really got to find is more removal, and I think we have that with Nico Bolas. So we'll cast Nico Bolas. We'll just get rid of that, and he's had enough. I think that was the last piece of his gas he was waiting to cast, and it's over. So there we go. Picking up a game 2 or 3. I don't know, I'm fucked up. Alright, so our next opponent is Fosca. Oh man. So another hand where we have no plays till turn 4 and no Shatter the Sky in this hand, which is kind of unfortunate. Looks like he's playing Yorion, which is really unfortunate for us, because if he's playing Yorion Luca, it just means he's going to steal our shit. And if that's the case anyway, if we don't have any plays till turn 4, we really don't have any plays till turn 4 anyway. So if he's playing the Luca deck, this is probably just a GG. Come on, man. It's not that hard to make a play. Holy fuck. Put down your Rogaran Triome, you fucking coward. Oh my god. Yeah, that's your companion. What, you gotta look at it again? Jesus fucking Christ. Indatha Triome? Man, maybe this isn't the deck I think it is. That's weird. Alright, awesome. So yeah, we don't have much. We have black, we have 1 green. So we have a way to cast this Vraska. Dovin. Oh man. Artifact costs 1 more? That sucks. I was gonna say that makes our Chromatic Lantern that much more expensive. Alright, so he's not the Luca Agent deck, which is kind of nice. I think we'll pay for it to get the Chromatic Lantern down. So what could we do with 5 mana? We can get an Ashiok down. I think he's holding up mana for a counter spell, I think. If I was a betting man. What would I be okay with getting countered? I would be okay with this getting countered. Okay, so he doesn't have a counter spell. That's wild. This is an example of why Fires of Invention would be so much better. And we're totally fine with that. He can absolutely remove those tokens all day. This is an example of why Fires of Invention would be so much better of a card than Chromatic Lantern, because we could have played 2 threats that turn, and we would be rolling over this opponent right now. I guarantee it. So I think... Because I know he doesn't have a counter spell, or at least like unless he drew into it, I think we're okay with like Nissa-ing here. We'll just do the Godless Shrine because why not? Create another. I mean, do I really care about this? Until your next repeat, all damage that we dealt to target permanent and opponent controls. I think we just go face. I don't really care about that Dovin. Damage dealt to and by. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So he only gets one of our things, and that's fine. So I think I wish we had a way to kill that. So let's see here. So she's a 4/4. Huh. Again, this is why Fires of Adventure would be so much better, because we could literally get like Ashiok and Vivian down and just start outvaluing him so much. I would want to save this for the cycling. I kind of want to save this. And that's another thing, like cycling lands. Sorry, here, I'm just going to say thinking. Cycling lands don't matter with Fires of Adventure. You could play two things and then cycle. So here, I think we just put this down. And then I think we just play Ashiok. I don't want to return Massacre Girl to their hand. So I'm just going to pop up this little puppy. And then honestly, I think we'll just play a Sorin. We'll just chip away at that guy. If she swings in with, if she swings in with the Massacre Girl, we can just block with the 2/3, and that will exile 2 cards from their hand. And I don't think they're going to have anything with haste. So she can swing in, and we'll lose it. I mean, that really didn't do anything. Dovin doing that really did not do much. Okay, so now we have Liliana. So let's see. We'll do another 2/3. We'll do another one of these. We'll chip away at you. We'll cast Liliana. We'll make them sacrifice the Massacre Girl. We'll get rid of these two. We get to draw 2. We get another Liliana. We'll kill his Dovin, and then we'll go 2 to face. And then I say we go Ajani. We'll create the cat as a blocker, and we'll go from there. All of our creatures have lifelink because of Sorin, so this Ajani could be a huge problem for him. Oof, that hurts. We get to draw a lot there, though. All right. So, we'll cast that. Let's see here. We'll cast Vivian. We'll ultimate with Nissa, because why not? Like, it would be stupid not to. We'll probably get another one of her before this is over. We'll create a 2/2 black zombie. We'll create another cat. We'll create a 3/3. with Vigilance. We'll do 1 damage. We gain some life. That gets us a 3/3. We'll create a 2/3. Hopefully we get another Nissen. We can start turning our lands into indestructible stuff. So what does he take? So he is an Agent of Treachery deck. Alright, so I think what we do here is we create a 3/3 with Vigilance. We can't make him sacrifice 2 yet. We just keep creating stuff, I guess. You know what? No, we'll cast the other Liliana. We'll keep her. Sacrifices 2. We'll sacrifice this and this. We'll cycle. We'll cast the Narset. We won't take a Shatter the Sky. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, that pumps up our Johnny. Let's see what their next play is. Do you have another Agent of Treachery? It wouldn't be sick. Another Agent of Treachery. Oh my god. He takes our Vivian. Alright. Create another zombie. Gain more life. We'll take a Vraska. Make him kill that. Really should probably have gone for face, but he's had enough anyway. That's game. That's how you beat Agent of Treachery. You just have so much value on the board that they don't mean anything. Alright. Next opponent is Necro Count. That's a fucking gross name. Why would you ever put Necro in your name? So we have a Chromatic Lantern, we have a 3-mana Planeswalker, and we have Vraska and Tameo. I'll take it. I think that's a really good hand, to be honest. We'll play our tapped lands into Chromatic Lantern. Hope. Wow. Is that an oops? Did you have a 1-mana play? Do you have like an opt? Spectral Sailor. Okay, so Flash. This will be interesting. Blue-white Flash? So the Shatter this guy will be pretty dope. Assuming they don't, you know, if they tap out at some point, we'll be good. Come on, man, make your play. Sea Dasher Octopus, okay. So he's got counter spells, I know that for a fact. Which could, if he counters our Chromatic Lantern, that's just rude. So I can only hope that he taps out for something. We play our Chromatic Lantern, and then we play out our Hollowed Fountain, and then Shatter this guy. Hope he taps out for something. Oh, fuck. No, this is not what I wanted to do. Alright, whatever. If he plays a Quenchier, then you're a fucking asshole. One-of-a-kind asshole. Okay, so he puts down the Brownborn Cutthroat. And I mean, I just hope he taps out. on something here. Do we go for it with the Shatter? He's got 3 mana open. How long can we survive? I'm assuming he's got... Well, let's just go for it. Yeah, that's a scoop. That sucks. That'll happen, though. When you're playing Flash and they don't tap out. I mean, we could have been more patient, but I really don't have the patience for Flash right now. All right. Our next opponent is Soltiorva. 2 Chromatic Lanterns and 2 Vivians. We'll stay true to our name here and keep 7, but, like, that's gross. He's got the Extra Life 2019 cards, which are pretty dope. We'll play our tap lands, we'll play Chromatic Lantern, and hope to God... Oh, he's playing Cats? Yuck. Fucking Cats. So we got 4 mana. And I guess with Chromatic Lantern, we have the ramp, so we can play Vivian Monster's Advocate. He's playing Jun Food Sack. Jun Sacked Food. Fied. I think this is going to be a situation where we just slowly get dwindled down to 0. Which is what it is. Pay 2. Get the Vivian down. Create the 3/3. We'll give it Vigilance. We could give it Reach, but like I'm just going to give it Vigilance. They create a food. We block the Savvy Hunter. He's choosing to draw a card there. Order of Midnight. He gets back the Savvy Hunter. He's playing the... Alright. We'll pay 2 life here. We'll get Garrick down. Create another 3/3. We'll give it Reach. Ah, fuck. No. Create 2 wolves. 2 wolfy wolves. Even, I mean, we could have played that differently, but if he attacks with the Order of Midnight, he's an idiot. So our next play, I really don't know what our next play is. See, you're dumb. I don't know if that was an oops. That's fine. And that's game. Gotcha, bitch. Oh, man. Cat decks are annoying, too, dude. There's no fun to be had in this game anymore. Everything's just so fucking... Everyone's such a hardo. All right. So, post-games talk. Other than the games that I recorded, I played a bunch of games with this deck. Once with Fires of Invention, and you saw me playing with Chromatic Lantern. It's absolutely and unequivocally stronger with Fires of Invention. So if you want to win more games, if you want to really roll over your opponents and see them scoop a lot faster, play Fires of Invention. With Fires of Invention, you're playing 2 at a time, so you're playing 2 Planeswalkers at a time. It's just so much more, so much faster. You have so much more value coming out that way. With this, you're only doing 1 Planeswalker at a time. But again, I didn't, this channel isn't a Fires of Invention channel. I'm not just trying to show, I'm not just going to make Fires of Invention decks. This one, albeit, is slower because you're playing Chromatic Lantern as opposed to Fires of Invention. Chromatic Lantern will let you play things sooner, probably, because, it's a turn 3 play. Um, but, I don't know. Absolutely, Fires of Invention. If you're going to make one change to the deck before you start playing, play Fires of Invention instead of Chromatic Lantern. Um, Maybe cut some other Planeswalkers and throw Chromatic Lantern in there as well, so you have the option of playing either. If you get a hand that comes out with Chromatic Lantern, you can start off with that and then Fires of Invention later. But if Fires of Invention is just so much better because you play the two, you just have so much value. You can play a Vivian, if you have Fires of Invention down, you have at least 4 mana. Hopefully, you've drawn another mana in the time it took you to cast that. You're at 5 mana. You can cast a Vivian and an Ashiok. You can cast a Garruk the following turn. Basically everything from Nico Bolas down. You can cast any of these. You can cast 2 of them. I mean, you must know how Fires of Invention works. So, if you're gonna make one change, that would be the change, and it would be much more competitive, and you would be creating so much more value every turn. But if you're gonna play it this way, like I played it. Changes I would absolutely make would be, maybe cutting the smaller end for that Kaya that I showed you earlier for Kaya Orzhov Usurper. I would absolutely say, she's crucial if you're coming up against aggro. Other things I would do is incorporate. I was a fucking idiot. What's it called? Interplanar. No, not inter. Is it beacon? Right, beacon. Interplanar Beacon. Interplanar Beacon. It's a simple land. If you put 4 of them in the deck, every time you play a Planeswalker, which is the only spell you're playing aside from Chromatic Lantern and Shadow the Sky, every time you play a Planeswalker spell, you gain a life. And it's just a way to kind of gain life back if you've been taking some hits early game. So you can cut out some of these dual lands and probably throw in 4 Interplanar Beacons. Bing, bang, boom. Deck already way better than what I have here. Or at least the mana base I have here. So definitely throw Interplanar Beacons in there. I would say Kaya is a solid inclusion, especially against aggro. Kaya Orzhov Usurper with the -1, you exile the 1 mana creatures. Another inclusion, you could potentially throw an Oath of Kaya's in there. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to any target. You gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent attacks a Planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, Oath of Kaya deals 2 damage to that player and you gain 2 life. So it's a way to prevent them from attacking your Planeswalkers, potentially. If it's not worth it. If they're throwing 1/1s at your, this is another anti-aggro solution. So if they're throwing a bunch of 1/1s at your Planeswalkers, it probably isn't even worth it. So it might prevent them from attacking your Planeswalkers because you're doing 2 damage to. If anything, it's doing more damage to them than it is to you. I mean, if they're trying to get a Planeswalker off the board that has 1 mana, sure, maybe they'll do it, but. Most of your Planeswalkers should be able to survive that if you haven't been using them to take things off the board. But those are the really only changes I would make. It's a 27 lander, so you could cut it down to 26 and maybe throw some more in. But overall, I think this performs pretty well. I mean, there's a lot of interplay here with you might want to bump up Sorin's because Sorin has some synergy with Ajani where, all your creatures, the free creatures that you're making with all the Planeswalkers that make stuff have life gain. So if you're creating the 2/2 Cat Soldier, you can pump it with the life gain that you get from Sorin because Sorin gives all your creatures lifelink. So you might want to add another Sorin in there, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, what I like about these Planeswalker decks is they don't force you, but you really have to kind of somewhat play creatively. And it does depend a lot on what your top decks are. So, if you lose a Planeswalker in the very beginning, and actually, something that could have saved me against the Simic Flash deck, you can throw. I would throw in Teferi in here to prevent counter spells from being a thing. I just didn't throw him in here because, I don't know. He's a great 3 mana Planeswalker. I just wanted to have more, impact Planeswalkers. I mean, I guess if I was going to cut something for Teferi. And then for those of you who don't know, if you're watching this, you do know, but Teferi prevents your opponent from playing anything during your turn. Opponents can only cast spells when they could cast a sorcery. So when you saw me playing against that Flash deck, if I had gotten a Teferi in my opening hand, it would have been very rare because I probably only run like 2 Teferis, considering the rest of our list is like 2 Planeswalkers. You could throw Teferi in there to prevent things like counter spells from fucking you entirely. So we played a Shatter the Sky. He countered it, and that's basically GG. That was it. We had no answers to that. If we had gotten a Teferi in our opening hand, if we had been able to play the Teferi, if the Teferi had survived, we would have won that game probably. But the odds that you get, even the odds that you include Teferi in this deck list that he survives, is just not really. I don't think that it's going to happen. So if you come up against a counterspell heavy deck, if you come up against a flash deck, it's probably GG. So yeah, this deck isn't like super competitive or anything, but it's just like if you want to take this into casual and have some fun, which is what I'm all about. I love playing the ladder and all that, but eventually, playing the Yori and Luca deck, eventually playing. The only deck that I've played on ladder has been Jeskai Fires, and I'm sick of throwing a Cavalier out there and winning a game like that. So like I've been playing a lot of casual lately, and this is just a really fun deck to play out there. It kind of forces you to play somewhat creatively, to think of ways. If you're lucky enough to top deck a Tamiyo and you've lost some Planeswalkers, you can get a Planeswalker back. Or if you casted a Shatter the Sky and you have Tamiyo, and they've reestablished a board presence, you can fetch it back. And things like Liliana are just always fun. You can, making people sacrifice 2 creatures, and it could be really impactful for them because, they built up a bunch of mana to cast those creatures, and you make them sacrifice those creatures, and the creatures that you made were free. You just used Planeswalker abilities, especially like Garruk, it's a 0 ability. Like if you kill 2 of your own wolves with Liliana, that means nothing to you, and you're that much closer to a Garruk ultimate. So like, there's just so much fun to be had with the interplay in these with these Planeswalkers. It's just super slow. Obviously, you got to wait until turn 3 or 4 before you can even cast like Narset. Kaya would help because she's another 3 mana Planeswalker. I guess what we could do here is let's just take a look at our 3 mana Planeswalkers. How many I have? So I have a fair amount. I guess Mu Yanling wouldn't be a bad one because her -3 creates a 4/4 flyer. But like some of these, I mean, Teferi, I would include, if you really want this to be like a competitive, viable deck, you would include Teferi. You would probably want to include Kaya. Davriel doesn't really do much. He gives us a little card advantage by making them discard a card, but like, I just don't think that that's impactful enough. I think the rest of our cards here are more impactful. And obviously, I think just creating a board presence is a bit more impactful with what you got here. So your Nissas, your Vivians, your Ashioks, your Lilianas, your Garuks. You really want to have stuff that gets stuff on the board. So post Shatter the Sky, if they're reeling from a post Shatter the Sky, you can at least start building the board up because most likely what they're going to have in their hand is going to be more powerful than when you have after a Shatter the Sky because they'll have built up mana, so they could start playing bigger creatures, and you're going to have something to deal with that. So if your 1/1 with Death Touch can't deal with it, you got to either start using mana or loyalty abilities to get rid of what they use, or stuff like that. But it forces you to play creatively. It forces you to kind of figure out different loyalty abilities to use to kind of work your way out of situations. So it's really fun. And not so competitive, but that's not what we're really about here. We're just about kind of trying to figure out decks that you can play and have a little bit of fun with. And this is absolutely a deck that I would say that you can play around out there and have a little bit of fun with. So, yeah, check it out. Play it. Not in the ladder. If you played in the open today, fucking best of luck to you. Hopefully you got the 7 wins or whatever was necessary, right? I was a coward. I didn't enter because I don't think I'm a good enough player to have done that, but man, I guess I could still do it. But I don't think I'm good enough at all. But if you went out there and you did it, let me know how you did. Hopefully you did awesome. I didn't even do it because I'm a coward. But maybe next time this rolls around and I've played long enough, maybe I think I'll be good enough. But for now, that's all. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully I'll be sober.